Hey guys, welcome to another Be Built by Brosa here live from the Mecca. I'm glad to have my good friend and my student Mark Durando here with me.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute, so glad to be back. So Mark is actually a week out from the California State Championships MuscleContest next week in Culver City. He's looking on the mark, very looking on the mark because his name's Mark.
That's right. Sounds like Lonnie right now.
Yeah, exactly. Lonnie T, that was a shout out to you. And today I have him here, and we're gonna focus today on supersets. So I want to show you guys a few different supersets that are unique in the way they hit the muscles. So we're going to show you a superset that basically involves the stretch position of a movement and contracted position. We're going to show you a superset that involves focusing on the eccentric and then the concentric portion of the rep. We're going to show you a superset that's going to change velocity. So the first exercise is going to be kind of slow. The second one, we're going to move as quickly as possible. And then on the fourth superset, we're going to show you an antagonistic muscles group superset. So they're going to be working two muscles that work opposite from each other. And then of course, we will close out the show with Ask Merlin. Okay guys, so the first superset I want to show you is for the lats, the portion of the lats that tie right into the armpit. So this is great for width. Now, as I mentioned in the first superset, we're going to be focusing on two different portions of the rep. First, it's going to be the stretch position here in a dumbbell pullover. So as you can see, he's reaching back far. He's getting a really good deep stretch in the lat before he pulls back over his chest. He's taking a deep breath, stretching back as far as he can, getting that stretch in the lat, and pulling back over. So this exercise can be worked. We actually have shown you before ways to do this to hit more of the chest and ways to hit more of the upper lat area of the teres. And this is hitting that upper lat area as he's stretching back nice and far. So now we're going to switch from this movement into a contracted position movement, a very similar movement called the stiff arm pull down. Okay, so he's taking a medium grip on a short straight bar. And now the movement is very similar in action, but now we're focusing not so much on the stretch portion of the movement, but we're focusing on the contracted portion of the movement. So that's what's really great about a superset like this, because both of these portions of the movement, focusing on different actions, the stretch and the contraction, is igniting growth in slightly different ways. So it's affecting the muscle differently. It's also affecting the central nervous system differently. And both of these things combined will help to ignite hypertrophy in the muscle. So as you can see again, everything is controlled. He's going to come to the top. He's going to make sure that he keeps the tension in the lats. And then he's going to come to the bottom and he's going to get that squeeze. So this is a good example of a good stretch contracted superset that's great for igniting. Okay guys, here is the second superset I want to show you. We're doing it for the biceps. We're using a preacher curl machine, and this is going to be an eccentric emphasis followed by concentric emphasis superset. So again, we're making the muscles work in two different ways. On the first exercise, he's focusing mostly on the eccentric portion of the movement, taking about 4 seconds on the way down. Of course, he's still coming to the top under control, getting a little squeeze at the top, and then lowering over 4 seconds. So this is the eccentric portion, or the negative emphasis portion of the superset. He's going to finish here. He's going to come around to the front. We're going to switch to a barbell curl. And now we're going to emphasize the positive or the concentric portion of the rep. So now again, the muscles have to work differently than they did in the first exercise. We're focusing on the positive rather than the negative. He's taking about 4 seconds to lift to the top, and then a controlled lowering to the bottom. And again, just by making the muscles work differently, you're going to ignite growth. You're going to have them affected by these different portions of the rep, going to affect the central nervous system and the muscles. And we're going to, with this unique stimulus, you're going to cause muscle growth. So this is another great way to superset in a unique way the eccentric, concentric supersets. Okay guys, here's the next kind of superset I want to show you. And this is really a velocity change superset. So what we're doing for chest here is we're doing basically a flat dumbbell press as an example. And he's just using good standard strict form, lowering the weight under control, getting a stretch at the bottom, raising the weight under control, making sure that he gets good stretches and contractions, but not really emphasizing or holding at any portion of the rep. This is just basically our normal, the way we perform reps. This is the cadence we normally use, very controlled up and down. So basically this is slow velocity training right here, just keeping a lot of tension on the muscle, moving the weight up and down under control from top to bottom. And now we're gonna switch gears completely. We're gonna go an incline press machine, and we'll go to high velocity training right here, where basically he's now just gonna move the weight as fast as he can. So he's just changing the way the central nervous system and the way the muscles have to work. He's going from using nice slow cadence, he's just moving up and down in a piston-like fashion, and just making little changes like this in supersets is going to force the muscles to grow. It's going to make a unique stimulus and ignite muscle growth just by changing the effect on the muscle and the central nervous system. Good. Okay guys, this is the last superset I want to show you today, and this is a basic antagonistic superset. So what I mean by antagonistic is that we're going to be using two different muscles that have opposite functions. In this case, it's going to be leg extensions or the quads and leg curls from the hamstrings. Another example would be chest and back or biceps and triceps. So this is great for the legs. As you can see, he's just using excellent form, excellent tempo, controlling everything from top to bottom. And this is isolating the quad muscles, which you can see separating nicely here a week out from the show. This is the first portion of the superset. Now we're going to move to the leg curl, and this is where it becomes antagonistic. So we're not doing another quad exercise. We're using the muscle with the opposite function. The first one flexes the knee, extends the knee, and the second movement flexes the knee, similar to the way the triceps followed by the biceps would work. So he's squeezing the top, and again you see really nice separation in the hamstrings here, week out. So this here is an example, like I said, of another superset you could do. It's great especially if you have time limitations and you want to get two muscle groups done really, really quickly, like I said, quads and hams, chest and back, or bis and tris.
There he is.
And here he's finishing up leg curls, which is how you do an antagonistic superset for the quads and the hamstrings.
Hi Merlin, change of location today because of the wind.
Yeah, we've been having a lot of wind out here lately, and we don't want you guys not being able to hear the questions and the answers. Yeah. So we're out here in the back of Gulch, which is pretty cool. So anyway, I have a question from someone named Jack Korn from my Facebook page. His question is, he said, I love high volume training, yet being a hard gainer, not sure if this is the most productive way for me. What rep and set range would you suggest, as well as total sets per body part? So let me first say that there are some people who do like higher volume training, which basically to most people means they like to do more sets per body part, and then you have the people who are more into intensity based training, which is generally going a little bit harder during the sets, maybe using more forced reps and negatives and descending sets, but doing less volume for the body part. And there's advocates on both sides of the equation. So I think that for you, specifically since you asked the question, you have to look at whether you're making gains that are sufficient for you, and that they're continual. Because obviously if you're making good gains month after month, year after year, then don't fix what ain't broke. But if you're finding that your gains are, they've either slowed down or maybe they're not what they used to be, you might want to switch to a lower set approach. Now I actually have never been in my entire career a very high volume trainer. I think that the most sets I'd ever done for a body part in a workout was maybe 15. And that's really not a lot by a lot of people's standards who may do 30 sets for quads or back. But I eventually whittled it down to where now I only do 8 work sets per body part. And to me, this works the best. I think that a more intense approach per set with high tension times, the TUTs being higher, and doing less overall volume is more effective than holding back a little bit set to set and just doing, suboptimal sets but doing a lot of them. And I think it's probably the case for most people. I just think that a lot of people think that they have somewhere in their head that they think that they need more, when actually if you hit a muscle hard and you break down the muscle fibers, once you've already done that, then it's time to let them recover, and breaking them down any further will just take away from recovery time. Also, the central nervous system will be more burnt out. The hormones will be getting into more of a catabolic state. So I think that high volume doesn't work for the majority of people. Obviously, there are some pros who can do very, very high volume because of their genetics, also the substances they may be on. So, basically for you, let me just narrow it down a little bit and say, for most of the, the larger muscle groups, say maybe chest, back, quads, maybe even shoulders, 12 work sets generally I think is enough for most people. Maybe 4 exercises, 3 sets each. Some of the smaller body parts, maybe biceps, triceps, hamstrings is kind of in the middle. Maybe around 8 or 9 work sets. Rep ranges, again, I don't think rep ranges are as important as tension times, but you still want a lot of variety in your training. So some days you might want to be as low as 4 to 6 reps. Some days you might want to be as high as 16 to 20 reps. You might want to combine these rep ranges and everything in between on your training days. But basically overall you want some variety so that you're hitting different sets of muscle fibers, you're making the muscles work differently, the central nervous systems be effective differently. But I think, like I said, for most people, you don't need any more than between 8 and 12 work sets per body part. Most of the time training a muscle group once per week is sufficient. If you have a weak body part, you might want to do a second mini workout for that body part, say something on like Monday, a full workout for, say, chest if it's a weak body part, where you're doing 12 sets, and then maybe another mini workout on Thursday for maybe about 6 sets. So the whole idea here is to try something different than you've been doing. If it hasn't been working, try a little bit higher intensity, lower volume approach. You probably will get some good effects from that. And if it's working out better than a high volume approach, then stick with that. But I'm not going to say that there's a one-size-fits-all for everybody. Everybody is a little bit different than each other. I just find that in the general overall scheme of people with average genetics, that around 8 to 12 sets per body part seems to work best for most, as long as every set is taken to total failure, to the extreme, and it usually works better than a high volume approach.
All right, what else you got, Merlin?
All right, so Kim Bridges, who is one of my clients and also my better half, she wants to know what's the best way to combat end of prep fatigue when slowing down really isn't an option. And she's obviously asking this question because she's at the time right now, about 10 days out of her first show of the year, the Cal State Championships MuscleContest. And I know personally, obviously, working with her, that she's starting to feel a little burnt out. A couple of my clients who are getting ready for that show are starting to slow down in terms of how they feel, their strength levels, their energy levels. And first of all, this is completely normal. When you've done a 12 to 16 week prep, it's going to take its toll on your body, so you're going to start to feel it towards the end of the prep. That's nothing that's abnormal. The goal is to just keep you functioning, keep your workouts so that you're able to at least get in decent workouts, you're able to get your cardio done, and you'll also be able to function throughout the day, because most of us have jobs that we have to attend to, children, school, whatever it is that we have, and we need to be able to function through the day. So that's always the goal. What you can do to combat it, really it's a hard thing to say, because what I would naturally say is if you can get more sleep, that's obviously going to help the most. If you can get naps, if you can have certain things done like chiropractic or physical therapy or massage therapy, cryotherapy, whatever therapeutic modality works for you and helps you with recovery. You could be even sitting in a hot tub for a couple of hours. If you could do little things like that to take care of yourself, then it's also going to help towards restoring your body, restoring recovery, and giving you a little bit more energy. You might want to up your vitamin, your micronutrient intake at this time also. You might need more vitamin C. You might need some more anti-inflammatory type supplements like turmeric and blueberry extract and pomegranate. These things will all help. I'm not going to really talk too much about NSAIDs because I don't really think that those should be overused or overabused because they can inhibit muscle growth. So, like I said, it's a difficult question to answer because you may not be able to fit these things into your life. You may just have your job, your kids, and all the things that you have to do, and you can't get extra sleep. But if you can, these are the best ways to combat it. If not, then just understand that it's okay in the last couple of weeks if your training is not quite as intense as it always is. Just get it done because really now your body's built, and all we're really doing is really just putting on the finishing touches. So if anything, you can back off on your training a little bit, not taking it to 100% failure on every set. Your cardio can maybe be a little bit less intense, but really you have to tough it out. This is really game time, and really the last couple of weeks is when it's rough. But handling this last couple of weeks and pushing through it as best you can is what's going to bring the best package on stage.
Awesome.